Hey, first, I want to acknowledge, the Gandhi-King conference. I'm very excited to be a part of this first Peace Jam Slam. That's called the Gandhi-King Peace Jam Slam. I think that's totally awesome. I want to give it up to Bridges and the Mid-South Peace and Justice Center, and of course the National Civil Rights Museum. I mean, them people are awesome. Like, for real, what a collaboration, y'all. I'm glad to be here, to be a part of it. And I'm very honored to come and speak today. I get to host all these Nobel Peace Prize winners all around the country and all around the world, and they get to speak to everyone. I get to come on and do my little thing and say hello, and to be the honored guest and be able to come and tell why I've been involved in peace and why I'm so passionate about it is a big honor. And I'm glad to be a part of it with you young people, because I see myself still very much just like you, still trying to still be heard, still trying to be seen, still trying to make an impact in the world, and we need so many allies. You know, these world problems that we're facing is going to need the whole world to be involved to handle these issues. And so I'm glad to be here in Memphis, in one of the hardest places in our nation, to work for peace. And so I'm glad to be with you young people here in Memphis and share my story. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where I came from, what brings me today to be here and do what I do, because I know I'm still one of those non-traditional presenters and speakers that you usually see in front of you. You know, you usually get the guy with the suit and the tie on and, hello, boys and girls. I'd like to talk to you about some peace today. And I always wish that there was a homeboy kind of like me that would come to my school or to my neighborhood and speak to me for real, to let me know that someone understood where I was coming from. Maybe understood my world that I was living in. Because I'm a Chicano, traditional, indigenous, native Chicano from right here in this country. We have a saying, we didn't cross the border crossed us. A lot of times when they talk about Mexicans in the Southwest, it's like we're illegal aliens or we're immigrants or we're some kind of foreign being that isn't even human. And reality is we've been indigenous to this continent forever. And, I didn't come from Mexico. My parents didn't come from Mexico. My grandparents didn't come from Mexico. My great-grandparents were probably here when it was still Mexico. So all we know is right here. And, but my mom and dad, they was just like everybody else. I even had a little bit of mix in my family because my grandmother, who was born and raised in New Mexico, married a Filipino. My grandpa, he was in World War I and World War II. He was from the Philippines, and he landed up retiring in Pueblo, Colorado, where they decided to make the Chemical Army Depot. And that's where they decided to bury mustard gas. And mustard gas was this really bad chemical that would, just to breathe in this mustard gas would cripple people's bodies. Just think, this gas, if you just inhaled it, you would have no control of your body or functions. Your body would just snap itself and break. And people would die in these sick, real ways, right? So they decided to get rid of this use of this chemical agent. And they decided to bury it in Pueblo, Colorado, and that's where my grandfather worked until he retired. So I grew up pretty much with a regular kind of family. My dad's also a veteran. He was in the Korean conflict, but he was a steel worker, as I knew him growing up. He worked in the steel mill, and my mom, she worked in the dairy. I didn't know what a hard job she had. I just thought it was cool that she worked at the dairy with all the cows milking them and everything. And back in the day, before there was vending machines everywhere to have all these kinds of drinks, chocolate milk was like the #1 drink for a kid, right? And so my mom come home with all that fresh chocolate milk all the time, and I was like, yeah, that's what's up. All my friends would be like, dang, you got the real jar in the fridge and everything, So I'm like, yeah, drinking that milk. Because even like on Fridays at school, you only got chocolate milk on Fridays. Other than that, all through all school week, you would only get white milk. And so Fridays is chocolate milk, and for me to have chocolate milk every day at my house, fresh from the cow, I'm like, yeah. I thought I was special. So I grew up kind of special with my mom and dad, and they're just like everybody else. It's not like my mom and dad are gang members and that kind of thing, They had me in the hospital. It wasn't like they named me like Puppet or Truco or Monster. You know, I don't come from like some traditional gang family or nothing. I have a regular mom and dad. But, you know, I grew up through the 80s, you know, and things were hard. The steel mill closed down all over the country. You know, there was steel mills that closed in Detroit, in Pennsylvania, and in Pueblo, Colorado, it was no different. And so when the steel mill closed down in my city, that was like the hub, that was the heartbeat of our city. And the whole city kind of pretty went dead after that. And a lot of men moved out of town to move to the big city in Denver to go and find jobs. And my dad was one of them. And that kind of put a strain on my mom and dad's relationship. And so my mom and dad got divorced when I was pretty young, you know, about 5, 6, 7 years old. And but you know, I'm just a little kid like everybody else. It's not like I understand what divorce is. I'm like, all right, whatever, you know. And as you grow, you kind of start to learn what divorce means and stuff like that. But you know, any kind of weekends, holidays, free time, summertime, you know, I spent with my dad. But most of the hard time going to school every day, I lived with my mom. And I grew up just like everybody else. It's not like, you know, my mom's a gangster and dresses me up with a hairnet and some dickies. It's like, orale, go to school, eh? My mom puts me in my Oshkosh Bagosh overalls and my hair doopity-doo to the side, you know. And I'm that little kid with the big backpack like everybody else, Return of the Jedi and Yoda on the backpack, you know. Got 124 crayons with a sharpener in the back, right? That's all you need, right? And when you're just in kindergarten, elementary school, first grade, second grade, it's not like anybody thinks, you know, they need to be cool or you just want to be friends with the pretty girl or the cool guy. No one cares about that when you're in kindergarten, first grade. You're just all kids, right? And you're just running around, just wiping stuff on each other like, you it, right? And you just kids, and you run around and you play, and you know, don't matter if that girl's too stinky or that boy just peed his pants. You're like, yay! You go down the slide first, you make it faster. Woo. Right? You don't care about that. You just like, eat my dirt pie, it got rocks. They're like cherries. And you just play, and you don't know if you're black or you're white or you're brown or you're poor or you're rich. You're just a kid and you play around. And I grew up that way, you know? Just being one of those kids in the 80s, Pepsi's telling me I'm the new generation, right? Michael Jackson's beating it, woo! You know, he's in his prime. It's not like he was a little kid singing A, B, C. None of that, you know? He was already like shaking it down, doing the beat it, and everyone was breaking, and I didn't even know you had to be black to dance like that. I thought we was all black or something, because I was doing it. I was like, yeah, right? I was watching Turbo and Ozone, you know? I was watching Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. You know, I wanted to be like that. Yeah, what, dog? And I kind of, you know, just go through all the phases. And middle school, I think, is, you know, the time where everybody kind of starts to figure out who they are and kind of put in those little details to your character. Because when you're a little kid, you know, you can't dress the way you want to dress. You can't do what you want to do. You know, if your mommy wants to put you in some pigtails, that's how you wear your hair that day, right? You're like, no, Mom, I don't want to take my school picture like that. But you're doing it anyway, right? Your mom bundles you up, puts you on that ugly jacket you don't like to wear. You're like, I don't need it. You're like, no, you're going to wear it. And you go to school like that anyway. So middle school kind of like where everyone kind of starts to fit in, you know. Girls start doing their makeup, even though their daddy tells you not to do it, you're still poking your eye out in the restaurant. And the boys are trying to do their haircut, even though they never had a haircut before. I never used to care about a haircut, but all of a sudden in middle school, everyone had gel in their hair. Big old gunks rolling down the side of their cheek, right? Boys still just pick it up, put it back in. Ooh. Costs a lot, right? And you just try to make your way. And in middle school, you know, there was some gang stuff going on and all that, but I wasn't really into it. And I was just always a class clown, always a little chubby kid running around trying to be everybody's friend, you know, kicking it. And me and my friends, we decided to make a little mock gang called the WFB. And the WFB stood for the Welfare Bandits, or the Wet Food Stand Bandits, right? Because there was this rapper named Biz Markie. I don't know, some of y'all know your old school hip hop. Biz Markie was this big chubby black brother who used to sing this song called Just a Friend, right? And he'd be like, oh baby, you got what I need. But you say he's just a friend. But you say he's just a friend. Oh baby, you, right? And that's what me and my homies were like, oh, that was funny. And in his album, he had this song called The Vapors. And The Vapors was like a major diss. And it talked about, like, when I was nothing, nobody cared about me. But now I'm this big rapper, now everybody want to be my friends. But you know what they get? They get the vapors. And in this song, The Vapors, he said, I'll hit you with a wet food stamp. And my homie's like, oh, that's messed up. Because this is in the day before everybody got the nice little credit card, you know what I mean? And it looked like a Visa, and you could just be like, cha-ching. Man, me and my mom, we used to go to the store with this big funny Monopoly money, right? And it was purple, and it was yellow, and it was all these funny colors, right? And the $1 food stamp was brown. And me and my homies were brown, and the food stamp was brown, and we like, oh yeah, that's everybody carrying these red and blue bandanas. Oh, we gonna flag food stamps, homie, what up? Right? Because what if you got hit with a wet food stamp? What you gonna do then, right? Bam! Right, what up? Break change, homie, what? So instead of these flags, we started wearing food stamps on our shirt, food stamps on our hats. And we wearing these food stamps because we the welfare bandits, right? But it's not like, you know, everybody's all scared, you know, it's just something that kind of brought us together because our moms, they didn't have no money to give us. You know, most parents would be like, you know, here's $1 or $2, you know, here's something to buy a snack at school or after school or something. Our moms didn't have that, you know. It was funny because me and my friends always had that $1 food stamp. And, you know, we'd go to the store, Safeway or whatever, and we'd get like, you know, 25-cent Craig Mott. Back then, I think it was like 15 cents even. You know, 15-cent Alf, Pop, Shasta, whatever. And then with the rest of the check, we play some video games or whatever, go kick it. And so our $1 food stamp started being our flag. And it's not like kids are like, oh man, here come the welfare bandits, man, don't look at them. They're crazy, right? Everybody see us in the hallway going, oh, you got a food stamp on, you stupid. And we just messing around, but you know, you always got that kid in school that's just like, oh, dumb, you're stupid. You're like, dude, it's just a food stamp, homie. What you gonna do with the food stamp, homie? You should be embarrassed of yourself. You should be ashamed. Why, homie? It's just a food stamp, homie. You won't bite. What, dog? What up? Dude, you're on welfare. Dude, you're stupid. I'm not on welfare. My mom is, dummy. Right? Shoot, I'm just a kid, homie. I can't get welfare. What are you talking about? Well, meet me after school and see what's up. Well, meet me after school, homie, what you gonna do? Break change, homie, what? So, you know, I start getting in these little fights after school. It's not like a big deal. You know, you're in middle school. It's not like you know how to fight. I'm scared to fight even. I'm like, trying to make some noises like I'm Bruce Lee or something. Like I know something, right? Asking my homies, hold me back, fool. I'm gonna crush this dog. Well, homie, what? And you just start fighting and you're like, well, homie, don't hit me in the face, fool, what? What, dog? I don't know how to fight. I'm a big kid, I'll sit on you, right? And I would, because I'm going to be funny, you know, after school, I'm the big kid, you know, I'll get you down, I'm going to sit on you, homie, and everybody's laughing, right? Ah, he's sitting on you. I'm like, what up? Give him some noogies on this side, pull a wedgie on this side, right? Everybody be laughing. So it wasn't like my fights were all serious or nothing, but I started getting this little reputation, you know? Because it's not like I'm scared. I'll even make a fool out of you. But I'm not trying to be this big old bully either. It's just, sometimes when you're in the hood, you get into stuff, right? You deal with it. Sometimes it worked out good, sometimes it didn't. Well, after my 8th grade year, I'm going into high school. And there ain't nothing to really do in my town. There ain't really no, like, our mall is whack. It's not really even, shouldn't even be called a mall. But we walk around it a whole lot on Saturdays and Sundays. A lot of people go to the flea market. That's what we like to do. We go out there. But for the most part, in the summer, if you want to do something, you got to be in like a sport or do something. So I was in band. I wasn't the best at sports, you know. I was the chubby kid in track, always lost. So I had to find something I could be good at, and I was in band. And so I joined marching band, and I'm in band, and I do that thing. And my dad, he dies that summer. It's crazy. Because it was way totally unexpected. My dad actually, he had been in an accident at the steel mill before he got divorced from my mom. And this big crane had come out and hit him. And so they had to take bone out of his leg and transform his arm and his shoulder and pin it all back together. And so my dad was living with this pain for a long time. Meanwhile, trying to recover from all these layoffs during the 80s, everybody was poor too. And so he didn't have a job as a steel worker, and he didn't have no work because of his arm. And he just went through this divorce, lost his kids and his wife. And my dad's going through stuff. He's going through all this pain, and he starts kind of self-medicating, trying to make himself feel better. It's like a lot of people do. It's not like my dad, becomes some crackhead or gets a drug problem, and our family ignores it, and he just becomes a fiend and dies. My dad, just like a lot of people, you have a hard day and they think, hey, I'm just going to go out and party, have a good time. And sometimes people at that party will push things on you that maybe you're not ready for. And my dad, because of all the medication he was taking, he shouldn't have done this drug. But he took some cocaine, and they put him in the hospital. And they didn't kill him right away. They kept him alive, and he was on this machine. And my mom picks me up from band practice and says, oh, I gotta take you to Denver. Your stupid dad, he overdosed on some drugs or something, I don't know. They said he's not gonna make it. So I gotta take you. Oh man, I had to take off work and all this. I don't need this. I'm tired of your dad already. And for 2 hours, she drives us to Denver, and we're just in silence. Me, my brother, and sister just scared, not knowing what we're gonna find. And when we get to the hospital, my grandmother and my uncles and my aunts, they receive us, they hug us, they tell us what's going on. And they say, your daddy's in like in a coma. The doctor said his head is like a vegetable, and that he probably isn't gonna make it. He probably ain't gonna know that you're in there, but go in there and see your dad. Go tell him that you love him. And so I'm scared. I'm the oldest, and my brother and my sister, they go in, and my little brother, he's about 11 at the time. My little sister, she's about 7 or 8. And we go in and we see my dad, and he's on his oxygen, and you hear this beep, beep, beep. And this big tube is down his throat, and it's pulling all this poison out. And I don't know what it is, I think it's like just evilness. But when people, maybe a kid takes too much, maybe at home lands up drinking something he ain't supposed to, some Ajax or something. Or maybe people get alcohol poisoning. What they do is the hospital gives you this chalk to make you throw up and vomit, right? So I don't know these things when I'm a kid. I just see black stuff coming out of his throat, and I'm thinking it's just evil. And we go up and we used to start touching my dad and crying, telling my dad, I love you, Dad. What happened, Dad? You okay, Dad? We're here, Dad. We're here. And my little sister, she starts squeezing his fingers, and she said, are you okay, Dad? I'm sorry, Dad. What happened, Dad? And as we sit there holding and squeezing my dad, he starts having these tears roll out of his eyes, and we start freaking out. Then my dad, his eyes open, and he starts looking at us. And he couldn't talk because he has this tube down his throat, so he can't explain what happens. He can't even tell us he loves us. He just sits there and cries and squeezes back at us. And it don't matter how many times, I've talked about this, I share these things. That's a pain that don't ever go. And so I know some of these hardships, these pains that a lot of you young people go through, it's hard to get over. It's hard burden on your heart, on your shoulders, when you have to take care of your little brothers and sisters, and you go through a struggle like this. But I tell you, you make it out. And for a while, I didn't know if I would. I didn't know. Because see, a couple of days later, my family decided to pull the plug on my dad because we didn't have no medical stuff. We didn't have nothing to take care of him. My family figured my dad would kind of be a burden. It's not like my family was the tightest and they was trying to, take care of my pops or nothing. So for whatever reason, they decided to pull the plug and let my dad go ahead and go. And that was hard. It was real hard. So I go to my freshman year in high school, and ain't nobody knows what's up. And it's just not like I'm going to go to school and be like, hey, man, over the summer, my dad overdosed on cocaine. What up? In my little town, nobody even thought cocaine was real. Crack was just something we saw on TV. And so cocaine was like something foreign. And so my dad, he dies over that year, and I'm like tripping. Because after that, my mom pretty much is like, oh, I see you now. I don't need your dad all in my business telling me what to do. Y'all need to do whatever you need to do because, man, I'm tired of watching you guys. So she sends us to live with my grandma. So my grandma starts taking care of me. And I'm cool with that, because I'm like, that's all I want to be is with my grandma anyway. That's all I ever wanted to do. My mom didn't ever like be paying attention anyway. My mom wasn't there for us. So I started living with grandma, and I'm still thinking, man, I need to just replace everything. And I started gangbanging like everybody else. This whole gang wave kind of came over the whole country in the 90s, and it was big. I think it had a lot to do with what was big in TV, MTV, videos. It was about Pac. It was about Biggie. It was about this whole West Coast NWA gangster. And everybody took it up. All the way out here in Memphis, you started seeing Bloods and Crips. All the way up in New York, you started seeing Bloods and Crips. That's something that came out of Cali. But just as popular as they were, you start seeing Five Sons and Disciples start sweeping to the west from the east. And you start seeing all these kinds of things start popping, and I'm thinking I'm no different. That maybe I needed this gangster. That maybe that's what Chicago is being a gangster. And I start getting into it, and I start going hard. And I start seeing that it's not just affecting me, though. It starts affecting my whole community. It starts happening and affecting all my friends. Because I start having a friend named Skeeter. You know, he's my homeboy, he grows up with me. But he's not a gangster. He grew up with he went to this private Christian school on the other side of town. His parents sent him. And all of a sudden in high school, he shows up because his dad wasn't doing too good. He was one of the last men that was fired or laid off from the steel mill. And so his dad finally came out of the steel mill, and they couldn't afford the school. So he sent up in private school and in the public school, and I'm like, hey, homie, want to chill with us for lunch? But he tries to hang out with the kids he wants to hang out with because he thinks he's a jock because he plays golf. And I'm like, dog, that ain't a sport. And the football players are like, man, that ain't a sport, man. So, you know, all the jocks are pushing him around. The baseball players, the football players, they push him around, you know. And so Skeeter, he hangs out with them, but for lunch, he hangs out with us. And when these football players would come by and try to punk him for all his French fries, you know, we'd all be like, hey, homie, what up? Give him his fries back, you know. And then football players be like, oh, what you little Mexicans gonna do? I don't know, homie. I'm gonna poke your eyes out. I'm gonna chop you in the throat. I'm gonna karate you, something, homie, what? If you can't see a touchdown on Friday, that's your bad. You know, so they be like, oh, you little Mexicans is crazy. We'll leave you alone. So, you know, we start sticking up for Skeeter. And eventually he just starts hanging out with us. And eventually everyone invites him to a party, and they end up jumping him in. But he's not like a real gangster, you know? I mean, his name is Skeeter. It's not like we gave him that name, you know? It's not like we went down the gangster list like, oh, homie, you kind of late getting in, dog. All the good names are taken. Wait. There's still one left. Skeeter. We're going to call you Skeeter. OG Skeeter, that's your name. His name was Sean. So we'd go to his house, and we'd be like, is Sean there? And his mom or his dad would answer the door and be like, Skeeter, got the friends at the door, son. We're like, oh, no, man. What they call you? Skeeter, it's getting kind of late, Skeeter. Tell your friends good night, Skeeter. Like, no, dude, we're calling you Skeeter at school, homie. And so we started calling him Skeeter at school. And we thought, oh, everybody's going to clown. But all the girls thought, oh, how cute. We're like, oh. And so they started the Skeeter Scooter clique, kind of like the Muppet Babies' little Skeeter Scooter clique. So they started doing that. But my boy Sean, he was the first one to start driving out. All my friends and his mom and dad had got him like this Scooby-Doo mystery van kind of thing. So you could fit all the homies in. And sometimes I'd be after school like, hey, dog, pick us up. Where you at? Oh, it was dress up day, and I had to give all the girls a ride home. They can't walk home in them shoes. I'm like, what? Yeah, we can. We your homeboys. Come pick us up, man. Oh, well, I already dropped them all off. It's just me and Maria, and that's it. All right, cool, man. Stop by Dairy Queen, pick me up a Blizzard. We good. And he would. He'd come through, and it was all good like that. Well, they start hanging out one night. We all partying, and another gang had set up a whole little staging. And they had got all the homies to chase him down. Everybody was on the drag, cruising, hanging out, taking numbers, seeing where the party at, kicking it. We all teenagers, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you know. And this little Carlo pulls up on one of the other homies and starts throwing gang signs, waving them up. What's up? This is Killer That, what up? The homies are like, let's get them, smash them fools. Everyone starts chasing these guys down, go on a big old chase. A lot of people get broken off. Some people are like, man, I'm chasing them fools. Well, this Carlo that Skeeter was in with Stephanie, his girlfriend, they on a little cruise, and they driving down the block. And these guys come out of the bushes, And, you know, we in Colorado, it's not like we're in California, some Hollywood set with AK-47s and Glocks and street sweepers. They have their daddy's hunting rifles they took from home. And they're these long barrel 22s that you hunt deer with scopes. They start busting. And the homeboys in the front seat start ducking. While Stephanie and Skeeter in the back seat on their little date, my homegirl picks her head up to see what's going on. She catches one through the back window. Stephanie go to the hospital. They pronounce her dead on arrival. Everyone talking about this young 15-year-old girl who died innocent to gangs. She wasn't in the gang. She wasn't doing drugs. She wasn't doing nothing. She was just one of them homegirls just trying to be in the scene. That's all. And Stephanie wasn't just some chick I knew. She wasn't just Skeeter's girl. She was a homegirl, like a sister to me, that grew up with me just a house away. She didn't have a dad either. Her mom and grandma raised her, and she had a sister. She had a number of sisters, 4 sisters. And me and her, we would all go and play together. Her mom would drop us off at skating. My mom would pick us up. We'd make snowmen, and me and my brother go mess up their snowman and their snow fort. Later on, her sisters and would come over to our house and mess up our snowman. You know, we'd be in the window later on drinking our hot cocoa, playing Nintendo, and Darla and Stephanie would be outside giggling, and we'd go out there looking, and they'd be dancing on the carrot nose and busting his snowman head. And we'd be like, "Oh, Mom, can we go outside?" And my mom would be like, "No." And we'd be like, "We're going to get you." So Darla and Stephanie, we grew up playing all the time. And her grandma would tell us all the time, "You go together, you come back together. Look out for each other. Don't fight with each other. Look out for each other. You go together, come back together." My grandma would tell us the same thing. And when we didn't come home together, I felt responsible, you know. I felt real bad about what happened. And after she died, the response at my school was, the principal sent a memo to all the students or to all the teachers saying, "Do not discuss what happened to these students because it might start more gang violence. Don't say nothing to them." And the response that we were getting from adults, the trainings that the police were given in our community was that gangs, that their whole families are involved, that it goes back generations for these Chicanos. And it was almost accepted, like that's what brown people do, that's what they do, they gangbang, they fight each other. You know, the black people too, oh, they just shoot each other, that's what black folks do, they shoot each other. Oh, that's just what they do, they die in the street. And there wasn't no kind of prevention or programs going out to us. There was nobody trying to reach out. We even had a conference on stage with police, law enforcement, and young gang members from my school, from different high schools, different gang members who wanted to participate. I was one of those that said I want to participate. We came on stage and we had a conversation about what should we do? Why is all this harassment going on? Why can't we get along? Why are all these things going on? And the cops, all they would tell us was, if you look like a duck, you quack like a duck, and talk like a duck, well, you must be a duck. And I still hear people, these cops using this kind of stuff, and I'm like, for real? And we took big offense to it. You know, because there was another gang in our neighborhood, they was called the East Side Dukes. And we would call the Dukes ducks. So when the cops called us all ducks, oh, we was real upset, right? We was real mad. So we said, all right, well, you talk like a pig, you act like a pig, you know? And they get all mad, right? When they're like, oh. So we all stood up, we like, hey, you got guns, we got guns, what's up, what you want to do? And then there was news people in the audience, there was adults, and they were like, oh! And they were like, let's take a 10-minute break, have some water and some donuts. Right? And we like, all right, cool. So all the homies, we gathered up on this side, and we all figured out on this, and the cops went on that side, and we came kind of out of these meetings like, what are we going to do? And only so a few traditional community members, you know, like some grandmas, some aunties, you know, they're the ones that usually in the hood holding it down, really trying to be positive and do something, you know. So there were some uncles and some grandpas there. And they came from the old movement, they came from the American Indian movement, they came from the Brown Berets, they came from the Crusade for Justice, they came from the Chicano Civil Rights Movement, you know. And they talked to us about culture. And they started a program called the Peace, Harmony, and Dignity Project, where they brought different gang members to maybe cover up the gang graffiti with some positive murals and artwork. And so I started working on that. So I was like, well, how can we make a change? What can we do? And so I started doing this kind of stuff because I'm like, I start seeing more of my friends die. I started seeing more of my friends go to prison and get locked up. And all I'm hearing from adults was, we got to lock them up. Generation X, they crazy. Huh? Generation X, they're the extreme generation. They're the first ones to bring guns to school. They're the ones that want to bungee jump off of bridges. They ain't afraid of nothing. This Generation X, man, they're the most extreme generation that we've ever seen. They're the most violent. So we're going to have to lock them up. And they decided what's working in California is the 3 strikes are outlaw. So in Colorado, they decided to bring the 3 strikes are outlaw. They also said, well, man, for this to really work, we need to lower the age limit that we could trial kids as an adult to 12 years old. So in Colorado, they lowered the age limit to trial kids as an adult to 12 years old. In Texas, I hear it's 10. And in the last 10 years alone, the female incarceration rate alone has tripled. Tripled, just females, tripled in the last 10 years. And they start saying, man, we need to build more prisons. We need to open it up and not just make this a state issue. We need to open it up and privatize it, right? So now all these new jails open up. Instead of these rich guys and girls opening up a mini mall or their McDonald's franchise or whatever, they opening up jails. Because there's big money in it, right? You get more money for incarcerating a person than sending them to a university. So, yo, let's hurt this cat. And you start seeing these statistics. Who has the highest dropout rate? Blacks, Chicanos, and poor white youth. Who has the highest incarceration rate? Hand in hand. Blacks, Latinos, and poor white youth. You would think, in the rest of the world, we only have 12 kids doing adult sentences. In our country alone, we have over 2,000. And most of those young men that are doing these adult sentences are white males. They ain't black or brown. Majority of them are white. And they start saying, man, this generation is crazy. And here I am working in my Bible trying to cover up some gang graffiti. And when we went to my own school, the principal came into our school and said, you know what, most of y'all ain't going to graduate. Most of you will probably take 5 years to graduate. This is the kind of stuff I was getting on the first days of my school. This is how they pumped me at my school. They didn't believe in us. Chicanos, man, we were gang members. That's it. So it wasn't like anyone was trying to do anything. In my city of Pueblo, still today, where there's crime going crazy over there, they still don't have a gang program. I tried to start one, they wouldn't hear it. I had to go to Denver, the big city, where at least they was like, yeah, we need something to happen. And so from that program, I started hooking up with homies all over the city, all over the state, and I started networking around this issue of gang violence. Well, Peace Jam all of a sudden starts to happen. And they have their second annual conference with Rigoberta Menchú. And I go, and I don't know Rigoberta Menchú. What's that name? And they make us learn about her. And she's this Mayan woman. She's the first Native woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize. First indigenous person, period, to be recognized with a Nobel Peace Prize. And they give it to her on the 500th anniversary of colonialism. 500 years of that, of Columbus being here, and they decided to recognize an indigenous person. Now I'm thinking, man, she must be big like Geronimo or Crazy Horse, right? She must be coming through deep. And she's this little tiny Mayan woman, right? Can't even see over the podium. And she's like, hello! How's everybody doing today? I can't speak English, but I will try. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy, Because a lot of our families at home that spoke Spanish, man, they would never speak in public. They wouldn't talk out in front of people. But here she was, this little lady, and she's talking about things. And she starts talking about the struggles of the Mayan people. That her mother and her father were killed in sick, horrendous ways, right? That her dad was burned alive in the city square, like in front of people. They burned him alive in front of people, to make a point to scare the community. Don't even try to fight for your rights. Don't even try to fight for who you are, because we'll kill you. They took her mom after that, and they kidnapped her, tortured her, raped her, and killed her, left her in the jungle half dead for animals to pick at her body. That's what they say. I'm tripping. I'm like, what? And here she talks about nonviolence and using those tools to deal with the problem and the issues that she was seeing. And I'm tripping because I'm like, man, in my neighborhood, if you look at us wrong, we're smashing you. You disrespect us, homie? Please believe. We're passing by your house, a bucket. What? They killed your mom and your dad and you stood for peace? What? 50,000 people still missing in the jungles of Guatemala from the massacres of these militias that went in. Just think if they went to your block and killed everybody, man, women, child, and went door to door and killed everybody in your block. That would be sick, right? It would be even sicker if they then took all those bodies out of the home, piled them up in a truck, and drove them out to the mountains and buried them in a hole, right? And didn't tell nobody. That would be even sicker, right? They did that to them, and there's still 50,000 that they're looking. And Rigoberta's still looking for the bodies of her own family members. Her mother, her father, brothers, sisters. She still don't know where they at. 50,000 still missing. And she's talking about how she worked for nonviolence to end all of this stuff that was happening to her. And we're like, what? Where did you learn this? Where did you get it? Was this some kind of Mayan thing that came about? What was it? You know what she said? She said, I learned it from Martin Luther King. I didn't know how to work for peace. I didn't know what a peace movement looked like. I learned it from reading and studying Martin Luther King. I learned it from listening to the words of Gandhi. What? Nah, not Martin Luther King. Who's that? Because even in our country, I don't think we learn enough about who Martin Luther King is, huh? That, yeah, we have a day for him, yeah, we have a march for him, but to me, it was a cultural day at school, and that's just when we ate chicken and stuff. I mean, Colorado's whack, I'm telling you. We had a culture day, and we all came and brought potluck and ate food. We didn't learn nothing about civil rights. We didn't learn nothing about what happened. And so for me, I'm like, well, for real, you learned about Martin Luther King? So I had to learn about Martin Luther King. And I had to learn for real that in our parents' lifetime, in our grandparents' lifetime, that they lived through this extreme racism. That our country was in an extreme racist place just 45, 50 years ago. Huh? That in our parents' lifetime, they lived in segregation. That for real, those first 9 students that walked into Little Rock High School had to be escorted by the military. That the president had to stop the country and make a speech about how we were going to end this racism. And you would think, hey, okay, let's send them to school. And if you saw these first 9 kids coming to your school with Humvees and a whole bunch of military guys with AK-47s and boots and stuff, would you be in their way going, oh, you ain't coming in our school? Would you welcome them, open the door? I would. I'd be like, hey, man, dang, be serious about your education. Go ahead, come on in. What? They put you in with guns and a whole military escort on me? Go ahead. What's up, dog? You special? Right? But the whole city shows up to boo them, spit on them, call them racist stuff, right? And just think, you couldn't even call the police department and ask them for help. Hey, there's these white guys out here with some sheets and a cross about to burn it, man. They about to kill my son. Could you come over here? And the cops be like, no, that's what you get. Could you imagine that? That for real, you would be walking down the street with Martin Luther King, singing church hymns, holding hands with other white and other brothers and sisters, just singing for peace, just asking for some civil rights, just let me vote. And your police department and your fire department show up to hose you down, beat you with some sticks, let the dogs sick you and bite on you. Like for real, this is all documented. You can watch it, right? They even bombed a church and killed little girls in it and got away. They put them on trial and said, not guilty. What? Our country was that sick only 45, 50 years ago. In our parents and our grandparents' lifetime, they lived through it. They're still here telling us this is for real. Which y'all wasting your time watching all this MTV jazz, killing each other, spending all your money on dumb stuff. Why don't y'all do something for real, man? The struggle just begun. And that's where I had to come and find out. I'd be like, man, for real, they've been holding us way back. You know, we get hypnotized watching cable television, MTV Cribs, My Sweet 16. It's ridiculous. We watching these people with closets bigger than our whole room. Talking about, look out my shoes. My Versace's, my Gucci's, my Jordans. All them shoes ain't nothing less than $250. $1,000 pair of shoes, and then, oh, I never even wear these. What? Golden rest shoes and all this stuff. My Sweet 16, I didn't get my BMW I wanted. I didn't get Lil Wayne at my birthday party. But if we just put a little bit in that, into ending poverty in our lifetime, we can do it. That's what these Nobel Peace Prize winners are saying. Like, for real, if us come together, we can really address these issues and these problems in our lifetime. That for real, we can be the solution to these problems. My generation, they decided to call us X. Your generation, they decided to call you Y. Like, what will you be? What will you become? Y'all are like the fork in the road, like, what y'all gonna do? And I think you're gonna be the best next generation that this world has ever seen. I think you're the generation that's gonna step it up and heal the world in these times that we're looking at global catastrophes, global warming, environmental degradation, these nuclear wars. This is a time period that Nostradamus predicted, huh? This is a time period that the Mayans, the Egyptians, many people pointed in this time that humanity will have a choice in deciding whether we will be bad or we're going to be real good. Will we live together or will we die together? I think you're a generation that has seen something that no generation has ever seen before. Has an opportunity to learn and achieve greater things than any human generation before us because of the abilities that we have. Just think these Nobel Peace Prize winners like Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, they did this work in third world countries, out of prisons, with nothing. They didn't even have a fax machine. And here we got all this technology in our pocket, man. We can text a homie. I can take a picture right now and be like, yeah, here I am in Memphis, I'm gonna send it to you right now. I just took a picture, I'm gonna send that right now. And we can coordinate, and we can organize, and we can hit mass media. Youth can become the professors, the doctors, the business leaders, the people that can change this world and this country like never seen before. Never 45, 50 years ago would they say there would be a black president. No way. Not even last year did they say we would have a black president. They said no way. And here we are, United States of America, first black president. They already gave him a Nobel Peace Prize too. Yeah, go ahead. What are y'all gonna do? Pick something, choose something, be a part of this global call to action. Be a part of this change, and you can do it non-violently. You don't need to grow dreadlocks and become a hippie. I know when I first thought about this peace movement, I thought it was going to be about unicorns and Care Bears in the sky and rainbows and all this fluffy stuff running through dandelion fields. Peace, man. I thought I was going to be on some kind of hill with some guys like, yeah, peace. Right? Peace is a struggle, man. Peace takes courage, real courage. Peace ain't no pump. They would even want to say peace is so powerful, they wanted to call it unpatriotic because everybody was getting down. We could stop a war, huh? We could change our country. We could change our president with peace. We can do a whole lot more. We can create health care. We can end poverty around the world. We can build schools. We can create solutions to the world's biggest diseases right now. And that's what I'm here for this weekend. That's why I'm here with you today. To be a part of this Gandhi-King Peace Jam Slam and really be about some peace. Not just talk about it. Not just look for something to be a part of, but really do something about it. Really get down. And you're going to have some of the greatest people to interact with today. Through all these great organizations that help put this together, from the people from the Civil Rights Museum to Bridges, awesome people at Bridges, the Memphis Mid-South Peace and Justice Center. I mean, get it, you find these people, holler at them. Let them know who you are. Let them know what you're working on. Let them know what you're passionate about. Let them know what direction you want to do. And whatever it is, if no one's talking about it now, then you be the one to lead it and get involved. Because this is the generation that's going to change it. You are the young people that are the best. I know many times adults sit in front of you and say, you're the future, but sit down, shut up, be quiet, listen to me. I believe that. I think you're ready to lead right now, young people. I think you're ready to lead this country right here out of Memphis right now, people. It ain't just about the dirty or some crazy rap song. Y'all need to step up in a real way and do some stuff, And I believe in y'all, Memphis, and I'm thankful for you have me here today. I'm honored to be here on stage with you, and I'm glad to hold hands and work for peace with y'all. It's been a pleasure for me. Peace. Thank you. All right. We got the homegirl Dana Dane coming on up. And then, let's see what time is it. 9:37. We got a little bit of time. We could have some questions. Yo, so anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts? What happened to Skeeter? My boy Skeeter, he went through a hard time after Stephanie died. No doubt, you know, I think a lot of times when you lose somebody, you know, like I said, our principal sent this memo telling everybody don't talk to the kids, right? So our counselors didn't call us in. Didn't nobody come and talk to us and say, hey, you know, what's going on? You know, when kids have a violent situation happen, that's not natural. But it almost seemed like, well, oh, okay, well, it was all right for us, you know. And Skeeter struggled for a while, but he came out of it. He's doing all right. He got married. He has like 3 girls right now, 3 daughters. He had one on Christmas Eve. He crazy still. His job, he climbs up these big power lines and hooks up electricity and cable. And so he gets pretty good money to climb up there and risk his life to hook up electricity. That ain't no hard joke, hard job. But he does that, and then he leads this motorcycle club in town. Part of like these veterans and steel workers. He's still involved in that with his dad and stuff. So they all like you know, blue collar motorcycle club on the weekend. But he cool, still rolling with the crew. Yeah, and I think it was crazy because, you know, when Columbine happened in Colorado, the president stopped the country and made a speech about it. Oh, not these kids. You know, $1 million library, we got to rebuild this, benefit concerts, all this kind of stuff. B&W, they went to school to shoot up their school. You know, I was like, what? Meanwhile, in our schools in the hood, man, we don't got enough books for every student in our class. You know? Meanwhile, in our schools, we had already been dealing with that problem for the last 10, 15 years, school shootings. But then it happened to these rich kids on the other side of town, and man, it was a big deal. And it was like, we had a hard time feeling valued. And that's what really started to kick up the work and elevate that. And so we started the Gang Rescue and Support Project in Denver, Colorado, which is still the only gang program in the whole state of Colorado. We have 5 groups that work all around Denver. We have 1 central program, and then we have groups that work just in those communities with those gangs specifically that we're trying to impact. We have a tattoo removal program, so we can remove tattoos off of any young homie that wants to change their life. We consider youth from like 25 on down. We have a headstone fund for all the kids that, you know, as many times as we'd go talk to the school, and I go talk to the elementary, the middle, the high school, running all these programs, we still lose a lot of kids in our street. And, you know, your parents ain't ready to bury you. You know, funeral expenses are pretty expensive. The average cost of a funeral is about $4,000, right? $4,000. You know, your parents saving any kind of money, it's maybe to get a down payment on a car, get a house, maybe just saving up for the holidays. They ain't thinking, oh, yeah, I gotta bury you. And that's crazy, you know, funeral parlors, they don't just let you make payments. They need their money up front or you don't get buried. And so we were seeing a lot of our friends that would be shelved for a long time. And even harder is, you know, you bury your friend, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and then you try to go visit them a year later and they don't even have a headstone, you can't find them in the grass, you know? So we started a headstone fund to remember those young people that we lost. And then we started a crisis team because the teachers and the principals, yeah, they were afraid to touch the issues. A lot of the teachers at these schools were even saying we don't have a gang problem. A lot of schools still don't want to say they have a gang problem. So we started a crisis team to handle any kind of issues that any school might handle. You know, maybe a teacher falls ill and passes. Maybe there's an accident, a car accident. And so now we work with the schools. We do 2 trainings a year annually for all the public school teachers in the Denver metro area. And we handle any crisis that comes about, even stranger danger. Maybe there was an incident like that. We'll go in and we'll talk to the kids and, you know, liberate any like lies and talk things out and work problems out. So we do all that kind of stuff still today. And, you know, we always helping other programs start these programs up. So I go out to LA, we work with programs in South Central, in East LA, in Compton, and Watts. We work with the homies out there, the Bloods and Crips Truce out there, the Community Self-Determination Institute, Homies Unidos, man, you name it, Homeboys Industry. We work with all kinds of gang programs out there, San Diego. We went into the detention centers here in Memphis. We have a program out in Minnesota and Michigan, all the way up in New York. We run a peace jam all over and just doing this gang work, trying to help it all out. You know, it's still a big issue. Yo, I would say the teachers is like, you know, don't get caught up on a young person's facade. You know, I think we all put up these facades in high school, right? And we create these characters. And gang stuff is kind of harder to deal with because they be like, it's more real, it's more crazy, it's for life. And so lots of adults will be like, oh, I don't want to touch that because that's too real, right? But I think it's just like anything in high school, right? Everybody starts getting into these characters and doing their makeup. And so if you're like into football or baseball or basketball, you're a jock, you know all the statistics of the teams, right? You know all the dates and your favorite team and all these kinds of stuff. If you're into rock and roll or rap, then you dress like that, you know when the next concert is, you know all the lyrics to the song, you get into all that. Well, gang kind of stuff is the same thing. Even though you pick a gang, it's just a facade. Now I'm not Rudy. Now I'm Big Local. And I've got a color and I'll kill you. And you start to get into this trouble, gangs get you in, and you want to get out, but it's kind of hard to then tell people, oh, I'm not local no more. I'm not crazy like that no more. And after you already done fought all kinds of people and tried to prove it and carried a gun and got jumped in, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, dang, I made a big mistake and I want to walk away from that. So don't get caught up in what young people may present to you as their facade. Talk to them as just a young person and a young person dealing with issues and problems and bumping through life trying to figure out who their character is. Don't try to feed into that gang hype. Don't feed into that world. If you want to learn more about those kinds of things and understand it, that's good, but you don't need to get stuck on that. Well, I would say work with an individual for who they are and not what they look like. Even still then, that works good. Yeah. All right. Question back there, homie. Me and my mother still talk? No, we don't. I'd say ever since high school, no. A little bit after my dad passed away, a couple years after that, I tried to commit suicide too. And I thought, in front of my mom, you know, I walked to my mom's house this morning. It was an Ash Wednesday, because I thought ashes to ashes, dust to dust, that would be a good day to kill myself. So I kind of put all what I wanted to be buried in, you know, my whole little gang uniform and everything. Put that in the closet for my grandma to find. And I had a gun, but for some reason I couldn't find my gun that morning. My grandma must have found it and put it away. And she did find it. She told me, she had found it. And she never told me what she did with it. I don't know if she buried it in the backyard, threw it in the river, I don't know, but she had found it. But I was like, I need to go through with this. So I went to my mom's house and I started crying on the front porch. My mom wouldn't let me in, and I just told her, hey, Mama, I'm sorry, I ruined your life, and I made things bad for you, and you ain't proud of me. I tried. I'm sorry I did wrong. I want you to live good. You don't have to worry about me no more. And I just cut myself up. Well, my mom called the cops and said, hey, this idiot's over here with a knife on my porch, and blah, blah, blah. So the cops get there, and they see me bleeding in the front yard, and they just tackle me. Jump on me, handcuff me, and then they go and talking to my mom, and they're like, oh, and they're like, what happened? Who did he stab? They thought I stabbed somebody and was trying to run out the front door. And my mom was like, oh, he just tried to kill himself. He's an idiot. And so the paramedics were like, get these handcuffs on him. What are you doing? And they put me in the ambulance and this and that, and they take me to the hospital. And my mom didn't care. After that, I left that hospital going, you know what? I don't need my mom, man. I never talked to my mom since. And I got over it, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's been like 15 years too. It breaks my heart. It hurts me. Still to this day, I'm like, I miss my mom. I remember some good times. But for the most part, I got a little girl. She's 11 years old, and she don't know her. I don't need her to know her either. You know, it's like sometimes just for yourself, you need to just grow and let that go. Because even when my grandma died, just like 4 or 5 years ago, I had to call my mom and be like, hey, Grandma's dying. You want to come see her or not? My mom cussed me out and said, I don't need you no more. Don't call me. Don't you get the point? I was like, I got the point. She hung up on the phone, but she still came to the hospital and saw my grandma, and that's all it was about. Since then, I ain't saw her. So that's how it is, you know? Sometimes you move on, y'all. Hey, don't let those things get you down. Just keep moving. Any one of y'all. Yeah, man, I told a bunch of my friends, hey, we need to do this. We were the first one to start stop the violence march in my neighborhood. We started having rallies. A lot of my friends left the gang with me, but a lot of my friends, hey, they was stuck. They was like, hey, man, that's our hustle. That's how I'm living. That's how I'm making it. So to each his own, you know what I mean? We could do what we could, and I'm still working to help homies out. A lot of my friends still, the ones that are alive, they ask me to help their kids now, so that they don't be like them. You know, give them another chance. So you know, some are there, some are not. But you know, I don't ever get caught up on those people that don't want to change. Just like my mom, don't want to change. Hey, you ain't gonna hold me back from the positiveness that I want to live in my life. You know what I mean? I've done seen that too much. I was sad as a child growing up, and hey, I live happy now. I live in peace. You know what I mean? And I had to find that for myself. And I think that's what this is really about. It's for everybody to find peace for yourself that you can share with everyone else. Because if you don't have peace for yourself, you can't have peace for nobody else, you know what I mean? So, you know, we're gonna go through hardships, we're gonna live hard times, you know what I mean? Maybe family don't look like family the way you want it, but you gotta find a peaceful way to have family the way you see it. Oh yeah, man. Like my dad, so I had my real biological dad, I didn't even know I had this other dad, right? And so he had some kids too. And me and my brother and my sister, we all still tied, we real close. And man, we do a bunch of stuff, we do good stuff. My brother, he's an activist, my older brother, he's an activist. He works on all the like police brutality cases. He campaigns for people in the city, stuff like that. That's my brother's big thing. My other sisters, you know, they just take care of their kids, whatever. A couple of my family members, they ain't doing too good. One of my sisters is in and out of prison because she's just wild. You know, she just couldn't deal. She couldn't get her life on track, you know, and so she's just wild sometimes, you know. It was a process. There wasn't a program. There wasn't adults trying to help young people get out of gangs, and gangs was a new issue. So like, how could you help kids get out of a gang, you know? And so that's what makes me a specialist, and the best at what I do now is because I'm one of those people that have started a program that actually does help young people deal with their issues and get out of it, you know. And so it's been a long process, and it's been a lot of trial and error, and the best way that I found to deal with the violence in my neighborhood is finding nonviolence to work with, to deal with those issues. Finding ways for us to get together and talk, to do these corny dances and sing and get us on the right page, to let us know, hey, we're just human. We all like to have a good time. We all just like to live and let our hearts beat. You know, it's not about us standing off with each other, hating each other, looking at each other like we're crazy or something. It's like, how do we get together? So that's a lot of the work that I do. All right, we on time right now. I'm gonna be here all day. So you see me, holla at your homie, all right? Thank you, everybody. Peace.